Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back, and thank you for joining us on the We Got Balls podcast. My name is Steve Trudeau. I am a host of this podcast. With me are my two co-hosts, Michael Almeida and Manuel Pacheco. Guys, how you doing?
Awesome.
Happy Memorial Day.
Absolutely. Thank you for those who served and lost their lives in the line of duty. We appreciate all of that you've done and sacrificed. We are joined by a guest today, Gracie Trudeau. She is our baseball correspondent. It's going to be a huge baseball show today. Gracie, how you doing?
Good to be back.
We are happy to have you back. So before we dive into the baseball stuff, I wanted to take a second to ask Emmanuel how he's doing, because we talked to him yesterday. He texted us, said, hey, I can't join the show. First of all, the show was on a Monday that we were recording, and he texted us on Sunday, so he's all confused. He might have a concussion, folks.
I think so.
But something happened to him medically. I assume that he fell off a bike somewhere. What's going on, man?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. So I was mountain biking in the morning.
We asked Emmanuel to shut off his device.
I know, I did. And then my Google Home Hub went off because
I'm
anyway.
leaving this all in because we explicitly said, everyone, please turn off your devices.
I know. I have too many devices. I have 53 devices in my house, and I'm not even kidding about that. Anyways, so
and that's why he fell off his bike.
Monday morning, I go mountain bike, okay, and I bring Myra and I bring Benjamin, my son, and my wife, and I bring them mountain biking. And I don't just bring them mountain biking; I bring them to an actual trail. So this isn't on the road; we're in the forest. The trails actually have these are horse trails, right? So we're going and I went, and then I basically fell, and when I fell, I hurt my knee, and I thought it was getting worse and worse. But at the end of the day, we got a good Band-Aid, crazy glue. It's good. No stitches. But yeah, it was like literally it was very, very painful. So I had to kind of deal with it. And I didn't know if I'd have to get stitches or not. But it's okay. Crazy glue and Band-Aids. That's all we have in Canada with our healthcare system.
So you didn't go to the hospital or the doctors or anything? What did you do with the crazy glue? I'm just wondering what happened with the crazy glue.
It's medical glue. So all it is basically, it's like crazy glue, but that's literally what it is. You put it on, like it's just, you dab it and then you close it and then you put the Band-Aid on it and then it just keeps the skin closed, and then you don't need stitches. If it's too gaping, then it's a problem, right? But yeah, that's all.
Well, I'm glad you're feeling better today.
Yeah, I'm fine today. But I did fall.
So I know Mikey and Gracie, you guys are going to be super excited for the show today. It's baseball. Mikey always inundates me with texts about baseball. Gracie and Mikey always text them back and forth about MLB stuff. So they're both super excited. I'll actually let you guys figure out where you want to start today, because I threw a bunch of topics out before this show, and I figure I'll let you start. So we'll actually let our guest go with what she wants to do. Gracie, what are you interested in?
Going through the visions in like 1 or 2 words.
We're laughing because before we started recording, we were like, hey, Gracie, your internet's kind of sketchy. Can you get closer to your router? And immediately as you started, you fell into the black hole.
This is Steve Trudeau's worst nightmare coming. He puts a list of things he wants done properly, and it's already happening.
Yeah.
I know. We started off with Emmanuel with his phone going off. Now Gracie's falling into a black hole. So it's a good start.
My router is like right up to my computer too, and it's still not doing anything for me. So I don't know if you can hear me.
No, you're good. So what were you saying about what you want to start today?
I guess going through the divisions and talking, like giving 1 or 2 words of how we feel about the division or surprises, whatever it may be.
All right, that's cool. I think it's a good place to start because it opens us up to all the topics. We can kind of stop. If we get to a division, we want to just like branch off somewhere else, we can do that. I actually think we should probably start with the AL East because that's probably the most exciting division in baseball. And all of us have stakes in that division. I like the Rays and Red Sox. Gracie, are you more of a Rays fan or Red Sox fan at this point?
I'm more of a Red Sox. I had to root for the Yankees today, which was hard, but way more of a Red Sox than Rays.
And Mike actually used to be a Yankees fan. I don't know how much of a fan are you at this point?
Well, my wife's a huge Yankee fan, so.
And then Emmanuel is obviously he's up in Canada, so
I'm a Blue Jay. That's it.
So we all have interest in this division, so it's a good place to start. I just want to actually say I'm super surprised the Red Sox are doing so well. They're 32-20 right now. They're second in the division, right behind the Rays. Do you guys know why they're so good? I'm still trying to figure it out.
They're good because they get on base. It's just that simple. They have a bunch of scrappy players. They have good leadership with Kiki Hernandez coming in. I think he's done a really good job in that clubhouse to loosen things up. JD Martinez has been absolutely on a tear. And their pitching staff is showing up. They're taking it one game at a time. I'm not a big Alex Cora fan, as most of you know.
Why?
Because he was a part of the Astros when everything happened. So,
oh my God, dude! I feel like
I'm
you're
not
gonna
letting it
find.
go.
I feel like you're gonna find everyone's children that played for the Astros and just like yell at them for no reason. I mean, it's been like 3 years. Let it go. Cora's a good manager, man. I like him. He seems to be liked in the clubhouse. He knows what he's doing. He won a World Series already. I don't get the hate. Gracie, do you feel like he deserves the hate?
No, everything changed when he came back. When you look at even like JD Martinez last year to this year, Devers, Bogey, everyone's production's up. And I mean, I really think it comes down to Cora and the way he manages the ball club and the way he empowers his players and he lets them have fun. And that makes a huge difference in the clubhouse and it gets get their momentum going before the game. And when you look at them, Mikey's right. It really is the hitting. They have 3 or 4 of the best hitters in baseball right now. And the bottom half of the lineup to start the season was just god-awful, and they're finally starting to improve. We got guys like Jaron Duran sitting down there in the minors waiting to come up. So I think that from here on out, they're going to be dominant in the division.
I think we're also not giving enough love to Bloom. Bloom has done an absolutely phenomenal job with that roster. And, a lot of people are really upset. Obviously, losing Mookie Betts is a huge deal. But, he's done a good job filling out that roster really, really well.
Yeah, and I'm going to say one more thing about Red Sox, and I can go on for hours about them, but I do agree. Chaim Bloom, he finds those hidden gems, those hidden players like Santana. He brings in guys like Kike. He brings in these little pieces that aren't going to be too expensive to make the team better, and that makes all the difference so far.
Yeah, and I do want to say, I know you guys keep harping on their batting, how great it is, and it's been good. I'm not going to say it's not good, but I think the biggest surprise with them is, last year the pitching staff was horrendous, and you thought it would not improve this year. You look at their staff and said, oh my God, it's the same guys are going to be trash again. But they've been pretty good. I'm not saying they're a great pitching staff, but they've overachieved. I think Erod has been good except for these last couple games. He started the season really well. Evaldi's been hit or miss, but he's been decent. But then the back end of the rotation with Pivetta and Richards. Richards, Mikey, you saw him, the guy with the mustache. Remember that guy? God. He was terrible, but hey, the past month and a half, he's been really efficient and effective. So I think a lot of credit has to go to their pitching staff because they've overachieved. And that's just saying, they're not great, but their expectation was so low that just being decent is a huge overachievement.
Yeah, and I think Chaim Bloom, you talk about the pitching staff. When you look at guys like Pivetta, Pivetta wasn't even the central piece in that trade with Workman and so forth. Seabaum was the guy who was supposed to be the central part of the trade, and he finds these players, and he traded away absolutely nothing to get these guys, and that goes to show how great he is and what he does. You took away Charlie's toy.
Yeah, my dog, Charlie, he's a great dog, but unfortunately he loves to squeak. So, you may have heard this in the background while listening to the podcast, but it's gone now. So
every time that he squeaks it, my dog is jumping up at me looking for it too. So.
Yeah, I think we did a whole podcast episode with that going in the background, and then I got a comment after, is someone having sex in the background? Because it sounds like mattress springs or something. It's awful. But outside of the Red Sox, I think the division's super competitive. The Rays, which I'm going to lose this prediction before the season, I said personally that the Rays were not going to make the playoffs, and I am completely wrong. I could talk about the Rays all day, but just the main story that we need to take away from the Rays is don't never doubt them. Right. I think I was thinking about this morning. As you know how we look at the Oakland A's back in the day with the money ball. I think the Rays have found some new formula that we don't know about yet and we'll read about in 10 years because they always find a way to get rid of players before they fall off a cliff. And they have some formula. They have some sort of system worked out where they know when guys are going to be bad and they get rid of them right away because I don't know if anyone listening to the podcast has followed the baseball season so far, but they got rid of Blake Snell and Charlie Morton in the offseason, which were 2 of their starting pitchers. Both of these guys fall off a cliff. With Morton, you can kind of understand because he was older. I think he's 36. But Blake Snell was young. He won a Cy Young, and he is awful with the Padres. And they just got out of that contract, no problem. So another magic trick for the Rays. They found a way to keep going. I don't understand. Mikey, do you know what's going on here?
They hire really well. They're efficient with their funds, and they're amazing at drafting. They always have a top farm system. They have the best farm system. Me and Gracie touched upon this during our off-season show that they had in the top 110 of their players were there, and they haven't even touched that yet. Like a lot of those guys, Gracie messaged me about when they traded Willy Adames and they're bringing up Frank Gore. She was so happy, and they should be. They're a great, well-run ball club. I just don't want to see them in Montreal. No offense to Emmanuel.
Yeah, actually, I want to touch on that before we move off the Rays. Do you want to get into that now about the lawsuit and what's going on with the Rays?
Go ahead, Steve. Why don't you explain the lawsuit?
I have a brief understanding, and maybe you two could throw in some more details as we go along. But essentially, in baseball, you have minority owners and majority owners. So it's basically how much share of the team you own. And I believe you need 75% of a vote to make a decision for MLB. So if you want to sign player X or spend funds X, Y, and Z. Well, currently the majority owner, Stu Sternberg, owns 85% approximately of the team. So he has the authority to make any decision, no questions asked, because he has so much. And there's a lawsuit from the other minority owners about his practices. So first of all, he had in 2004 only 49% of the team. So he found ways to accumulate from other owners more and more and more of the franchise until he had a majority share. And they say that they're suing because he, first of all, put the team in high pressure transactions to kind of take more of the team from other owners. And an interesting part of this was I was listening to a podcast. It's Nothing Personal with David Sampson. He's the former team president of the Miami Marlins. And he said he would do this a lot in Montreal, especially, is basically you put your team in a position where you want to do move X, Y, and Z, right? And let's say move X, Y, and Z cost $10 million, right? You follow me? And the other owners say, well, I don't want to pay $10 million for this. And then the other owner says, I'll do it. I'll put in all 10 million. We can get the deal done. You want to do that? And they go, sure, whatever. And Mikey, you're a financial guy, so you would understand this a lot. Basically, when you put in $10 million yourself, you add more shares of the franchise. So the franchise becomes more valuable. So that 10 million, all those shares become yours. So a little sneaky way to get more, ownership of a team is just keep throwing money in yourself when other owners don't. And you eventually dilute the shares so much that you own all of the team. And if this is kind of what the Rays owner did, where he kept adding money himself and diluting the shares of the other owners to the point where now he owns all of it. So they're very upset about that. And another part of the lawsuit, and I'm going to stop in a second because I know I can get a little long-winded with these things. There's an agreement with the St. Pete and the Tropicana Field where you're not allowed to negotiate playing elsewhere while being at St. Pete and Tropicana Field. And it seems like the current owner, Stu Sternberg, the majority owner, has been negotiating to play in Montreal, which you touched on earlier. And it might be in violation of their stadium deal. And basically, if they violate it, they're out. They have no stadium. And that's through 2027. So I think at this point, the other minority owners are already pissed off at this guy because they took all their shares. And they found a way to kind of undercut him because he violated part of the contract. And since he's violated it, they're trying to now take control of the team from him to themselves, even though they don't have enough of the percentage or stake in the team to actually make decisions. So that's what I've gathered from it. I don't know if you guys have heard anything different, Mikey or Gracie.
Let Gracie go touch upon this first because this is her home team. So she'll know more about the stadium and if maybe it is the right move or what they're doing is the right thing for the team.
Yeah, you basically hit exactly what had happened. In terms of, talks about moving the stadium, I know that me and Steven talked about, maybe they're trying to bluff like they did with Miami to say, oh, well, we're talking to people in Montreal. Maybe they'll push the talks with St. Pete and Tampa. I know that there's still a lot of plans for them to open up a new stadium down here. There's Ybor City, there's signs of where they want to, they want the stadium to be put in there in Tampa. That's one of the possible sites. I'm kind of 50-50 of what they will do. I mean, they're just, the talks have been going on so long, you're going to be hitting that time almost like the A's where MLB might come in and say, have talks with other people to move the stadium somewhere else, move the team. I hope it doesn't come down to that. I think that the fan base is really growing down here, especially with the team doing so well. And I really see them being successful in the future, especially if they move the stadium to Tampa where it's more accessible to everybody. Right now it's in St. Pete, and I'm going to a game next week. It's going to take me 2 hours to get there because of where it's located from Tampa to St. Pete. And that's one of the bigger problems too, is that the transporting yourself to the game, getting there is horrible. So, I hope that it's just a ploy to move along the talks for Tampa and St. Pete, but I'm still 50-50 on what is actually going on.
So I actually want to throw a little bit into that before we get started, until Mike gets in there. Unfortunately for Tampa, it's all a bluff because I believe that the MLB is looking to expand currently. So if they were to move their franchise, they would have to pay approximately a $1.5 billion relocation fee. So I don't think that's something they would want to do at all. So my personal opinion is it's all a bluff to get money out of the city of Tampa, St. Pete, and get a new stadium pretty much for free. Mikey, do you have any thoughts on that?
That's a lot of Blake Snells to do. That's way too many for them. It's just so sad because they're such a well-ran franchise. It seems like this is a lot of what happened with the McCourts with the Dodgers. And I'm not trying to bring up the Dodgers, how much I love them. It just comes down to it. He's abusing his power, right? And the reality of it is he doesn't care about his team. He cares about owning more and becoming more wealthy. And this is a problem baseball has all around like with the Pirates and a couple of the other teams. But ultimately, it's a well-run franchise. I hope they figure it out, and they need to stay in Tampa. We don't need another team in Montreal. Let's expand later once we get situated with all these freaking injuries and Tommy Johns and getting, players right so that we can have a strong league all around. And that's what you're seeing right now, which is making the sport really fun. There's a lot of teams that are, could be playoff teams, especially with a couple of moves. So hopefully that is the case at the end of the day.
So I wanted to add a few more things because I did have the Rays lawsuit on my agenda today. The mayor of St. Pete is using this now as leverage to not negotiate with the Rays. So basically, Mikey, they're saying, oh, you're in a lawsuit? Oh, well, I don't want to negotiate with you now. He knows damn well the lawsuit's not going to work in court. Like, it's not going to work at all, but he's just using it as a play to say, hey, I didn't want to throw money at you in the first place, but now here's the reason why I'm not going to. So it's just a disaster down there.
Well, I know that we want to switch the topic soon. It's just really, there are plenty of places that will take the Tampa Rays in a heartbeat, like Las Vegas. Tennessee has been all over this. Nashville wants a team more than anybody. Portland wants a team. Unfortunately, Montreal wants a team. If they can't take care of the Expos, they're not going to take care of the Rays. You're just going from one shit show to another, in my opinion.
So before we moved on, I actually want to address a question from a listener, Mariah, and I appreciate her. She always listens. She's constantly commenting. So Mariah, we love you for being involved with the show, and check out her YouTube page as well. We'll put a link after on the podcast. But she asked, what's our opinion on wiffle ball? And wiffle ball might be the best backyard sport, hands down. It's either that or kickball. I don't know. What do you guys got?
My dream is to have a backyard big enough to have a full stadium for wiffle ball. So,
there we go.
Yeah, like a full monster, everything.
But can I say, I don't like the people who are like serious about wiffle ball that like whip the ball. Like wiffle ball should be fun. It should be like kind of like a slow overhand pitch. There are people who are like super professional, like whip that thing and get out of here with that because that just ruins the game for everybody.
I will tell you right now, I don't know if any of you guys have seen the wiffle ball, like the strike zone that they have, the square that you can put up. That is better than the umpiring I've seen all of this year. We might want to do that instead of having, we don't even need catchers anymore. Forget catchers. We'll throw in we can't because of ships, but still.
So I actually want to get back to the Tampa Bay topic because someone in the chat is actually mentioning The destination that I think is the most likely, and it was Chicago Tank 312 mentioned Montreal, and that's been thrown around a lot for the Rays as being like a split destination. So basically, they would play half their season in Tampa, half their season in Montreal, and the idea is like the warmer months they'd play in Montreal, the colder months they play in Tampa. And I actually want to get, because Emmanuel's been very quiet on this topic. Do you have any feeling on like what the people of Montreal or Canada would think of this sort of solution? And secondly, do they even miss the expos up there?
Well, yes and no. They miss them because it's a source of pride, right? When they had them, but yet it's like it's just not a city that can support a team like that. It just can't, right? And Toronto, like you have all the Toronto people, the Blue Jays, it's so much bigger. Montreal is just, most people want to leave Montreal or visit, right? So I don't think they can support it. Like they want it. It's a source of pride, but I just don't think it's going to happen, or it's really realistic.
Do they even care about baseball in Montreal?
No, not at all.
Yeah, I didn't think so. I mean, there's a reason why they moved out of Montreal to DC.
Yeah,
I have a quick question for Gracie. Gracie, you're a baseball nut. How pissed would you be if they take away your team?
I'd have to drive 4 hours to Miami to watch a game, so I'd be pretty angry.
You'd have to watch Miami.
I know. I have to watch exactly. I mean, it's so easy, right? Because I'm a big fan of the Red Sox. I get to watch them 4 times a year, 3-4 times a year down here in Tampa. So yeah, it would be very frustrating. When I actually moved, like I said before, when I was planning on moving to Florida and we're trying to decide where to go, we literally picked Tampa so we could be close to a baseball stadium. I know that I'm a nut like that, but that was the thought process. So if they move the team out, that's a 4-hour drive I don't want to take.
Of all baseball stadiums too, you picked probably the worst outside of Oakland.
I know, it's an orange juicer. That's what it is.
Do they still have the Rays that you can pet or no?
They do, yeah.
Yeah, they do.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think they donate money whenever a home run's hitting that in the tank, which is kind of cool because like you're probably killing a stingray, but at least they're donating money.
Well, that's good. Every time a Ray gets hit with a baseball,
yeah,
they give some money. That's good. This poor animal, man.
The funeral.
I wanted to hear Emmanuel because once I said that they have live Rays there. What do you think, Emmanuel?
No, like this doesn't happen in Canada. There is American baseball, and it's an American sport. We got our hockey, we got Maple Leafs, right? We got the Maple Leafs, and that's our national pastime. Well, but I'm telling you now, baseball is an American sport. You guys are on a different level.
Well, first of all, the Toronto Raptors can't have a live Raptor, so that would never happen.
What?
Give it
if they
time,
could, they
Steve.
might. Yeah,
Give it time.
you never know. Jurassic Park might happen.
They have
But
the best logo. The Raptors have the best logo.
You can
Okay.
pet the super fan that they made into the
Only fan in the Hall of Fame. Only fan in the Hall of Fame. Okay?
But I was going to say, my second point was, if you think that's bad with the Stingrays, Emmanuel, have you heard of Louisiana State University? Do you know what their mascot is?
I have no idea.
I know you didn't. That's why I asked you that way.
Yeah.
It's a tiger. And guess what?
What?
They bring a live tiger out to the football
They
field.
do. Of course.
In a cage.
Yeah, and when I played at Central Connecticut, we went to the NCAA tournament down there in LSU, and you make it a point when you go to LSU to see Mike the Tiger, which is hilarious when you think about it. But
It's kind of messed up.
it is. It really honestly is. Yeah.
I want to see that college football guy that used to eat the grass. What was it, Les
Miles.
Yeah.
He still eats grass in Kentucky, by the way. He's still there.
Oh,
Although,
man.
actually, I think he got fired because of some sexual stuff. So, college football, there you go.
Oh man.
Moving on. So, do you want to have any other talks about the AL East? Because I know we all are big on the AL East. The only teams we haven't touched on really are the Yankees and the Blue Jays. I'm good with the Yankees if we want to go straight into Blue Jays, unless, Mikey, you got something?
Just easy way to talk about the Yankee season. Disappointment. That's it. Move on. Just a disappointment so far.
Well,
Not quite the Tigers.
I don't want to say they're super disappointing because they started off really terrible and they've been much, much better lately. So over time, I feel like they're going to kind of come back to the norm. I mean, it's a long season. They're in third place now. They're not that far back.
Yeah, I mean, they haven't even played the Red Sox yet, which as a Red Sox fan, that's frightening because they can go in and take 3 or 4 from them. And I mean, that changes the whole season because they're only back 3.5 games.
Yeah, they're back 5.5 after today because they
5.5.
lost to the Rays. But the other thing too was me and Gracie, I think this would have been our easiest answer in the offseason show was, oh, it was the Yankees. Like, let's move on. And now you have the Rays that are just playing out of their mind. It's absolutely
The Rays and the Red Sox. Who would have thought? I mean, the Rays more than the Red Sox, but just I would have not thought that they'd be that back this far. And I mean, yeah, exactly. You would have never thought that.
So before we move on from the Yankees, I do want to answer one more listener question. I think this is a good question. It's kind of like a question over time for all of sports. Basically, it says, well, obviously Babe Ruth back in the day, we thought he was the best player of all time. We idolize him as like one of the greatest, if not the greatest baseball player ever. And the question was, would he be good today or thought of as good? I just want to say my personal opinion is that he probably was a great player back in the day, but I think everyone around him was just so bad. I mean, these guys that played back in like the 1920s, their first job was like being a plumber or, being a steel worker. Like they weren't baseball professionals. So I think if you drop Babe Ruth into baseball now, he'd still be great, but I don't think he would stand out as much. Kind of the same thing with basketball with Bill Russell with the Celtics back in the day. Like, I think hats off to him as being one of the greatest winners of all time in basketball. But if you threw him in the modern NBA, he wouldn't look as dominant. You know what I mean? Grace, you want to add to that?
Yeah, I honestly don't even think he would crack a starter position if he was in Major League Baseball today. I mean, the dude probably has to be the epitome of like one of the worst athletes for like just if you look at him and you look at like his health and so forth. I know controversial. I get it, but I don't think he would be anything today. I think, like you said, he was ahead of his time in terms of talent, but the talent there wasn't what it is like today. I don't think he would have been who he is.
literally with my height. I could also be a professional basketball player from San Miguel, Portugal, as well. When you don't have any Dominican Republic players or Puerto Rican players or players from Asia in your league, it's not going to be as hard. He can't obviously pick, when he was born or whatever, but at the same time, he was the first superstar player, right? In pretty much any sport. So you just tip your hat. And if you go to the Hall of Fame, they actually have a whole room for him.
Yeah, I mean, and like you said, Mikey, he did so much for the game, and he was the first big superstar, and we do idolize him. And I would never not idolize him for who he was back then, but I just don't think he would be nearly what he is if you plopped him in today's world. Like you said, there's just the talent there is just immense.
Yeah, we kind of skip over this whole thing with Babe Ruth and that he played baseball when there was like no integration. So kind of not really a fair playing field. But I'm going to just check off the list for today, taking out Babe Ruth because he did that. So check that off the list. So before we move into like another division, I actually want to ask Mikey and Gracie a question about the season in general as like a whole. I noticed that there were, and this was, covered by ESPN as well, but I noticed there was a lot of no-hitters this season. And this is especially controversial in a way because there apparently was some changes to the baseball in the offseason to, take the offense down and help the pitchers out. So far, there's been 6 no-hitters. All right. And the name of the people who threw it, I have it in front of me. I've never heard of a single person on this list. Maybe Corey Kluber. It's the one name I know of on this list.
Bumgarner. You know Bumgarner.
Well, timeout. So he doesn't count as the 6.
Yeah.
Apparently, according to Mike Alameda, you have to throw 9 innings to have no hitter. So
I
he's
think,
not on my
Gracie,
list.
do you agree with that or no?
What? No, I don't think. Because 7 innings, so many guys go through 7 and then they lose in 8 or 9. You can't put it up there as a no-hitter.
So not counting Bumgarner, there was 6 no-hitters this season. And I wanted to look back in previous seasons to kind of see like where we were. Is that the norm or is that like extremely high? This is what I have. So I omitted 2020 because it was a 72-game season, I believe. So I didn't count that. So going back, starting in 2019, 4 no-hitters, right? And now we have 6 already in the month of, we're just entering June. So 4 in 2019 as a total for 182 games, 3 in 2018, 1 in 2017, 1 in 2016, and then 2015 is kind of an outlier at 7, so it's a lot higher. But I mean, it's insane right now, the jump of no hitters. So do you guys think this is natural? Do you think it's because they actually altered the ball or changed something? Or do you think it's just because the game has changed? What do you think?
I think, one, it does have a lot to do with the ball, but I think you look at the teams that they've had the no-hitters against and you look at the lineups they're putting out there, that plays a huge role in it as well. And I do want to add one thing on to the fact that they're changing with the changing of the baseball. As an owner or GM, that would absolutely drive me crazy. You're paying guys based on how they perform. And when the balls were being juiced and guys were slamming the ball out of the ballpark, you're paying guys how much money. Now you change the balls and people aren't producing as much, and that would absolutely get me so irritated. Stop changing the balls, keep them just uniform so guys aren't, having these inflated numbers.
So I do have one objection I wanted to add. So the person who's watching on Reddit, Chicago Tank, is very upset with your take, Mikey, that Bumgarner's no hit doesn't count because he is
Why
very
are you picking
adamant.
on me? Grace agreed with me. It's not just
Well, you're
me.
the one who came out with the strong statement. So
Wait to support the podcast and have our back, Steve. What kind of host are you, man?
listen, I'm a man of the people.
I knew you were going
I'm
to
with
say
the
that.
people.
I already played this already in my head. 10
Chicago
seconds
Tank,
before you
he's a
said
listener.
it. Go ahead,
He's
yeah.
supporting the podcast, so I'm with him. So, Mikey, I want you to defend your point. Defend your point why it does not count.
Like Gracie said, how many people would have had a no-hitter if the game ended in the 7th? How many? So we're going to count all of them, right? We're going to count Bumgarners. Let's count all of them. Make it fair.
I also want to add that you're talking about maybe one time more through the lineup and a guy seeing him one more time, and that can make all the difference between getting a no-hitter and someone cracking that and getting a hit.
And the other thing is a lot of these pitchers are pitch restrictions, right? Once you get heavier, they're going to throw more balls. They're going to get tired faster. And if your team has a long inning, you're going to get there's been several times that Kershaw gets yanked in the 6th just because the team has a crazy offensive production inning and he's sitting around for 45 minutes and they don't want him to get hurt. So there you go.
So I want to defend my boy Chicago right on this point. So here's the thing. Is it Bumgarner's fault that he couldn't pitch 2 more innings?
I do have a question.
I'm asking you a question. Is it his fault? They ended the game at 7. Is it his fault that they ended the game at 7?
No, not at all.
So then why penalize him and not give him the attribute when he had no choice?
But is it the other team's fault they didn't go 2 more innings? They couldn't get a hit off of him. I mean, it goes both ways.
Also, I want to know, is Chicago Tank a Cubs fan or a White Sox fan? He sounds more like a Cubs fan to me.
Yeah, actually, Chicago, let us know if are you a White Sox fan or a Cubs fan, because that actually means a lot. Because I personally, let's actually move to that division, because I actually have a favorite as far as Chicago Cubs or White Sox personally.
Are we talking about going to the AL Central, Steve, or the NL Central?
Can I just say something? I put a show note about the NL Central. My show note. You want to know what my show note says?
Shit show.
It just says meh. That's how I feel about NL Central. I looked at it and I'm just like, I don't want to talk about this. This is terrible.
But Steve, your favorite baseball person is in the AL Central, buddy. Your favorite person. How could you say that about that division?
Who's my favorite person?
Tony LaRussa.
Oh no, that's the one I like. Did I actually split it up? No,
okay.
I don't like NL Central. Did I say the wrong?
Yeah, you said AL
Okay.
Central.
Yeah,
The NL Central with the Cubs and the Reds and all that trash. I don't care. But Chicago Tank's my boy. I'm a White Sox fan. If I got to pick one of the side, north side, south side, White Sox for life, man. White Sox are my shit. Let's jump into the White Sox. Let's just go right into it because I have a lot of thoughts and I'd love to hear what Chicago Tank thinks about my boy Tony LaRussa. But Gracie, you can start with all your thoughts on the White Sox.
Let's give Steve. I just want to hear Steve go on a rant right now. Steve, just go. Just rant it out, man.
I think listeners have heard my voice enough in the past 3 episodes. I think I need to pass the ball more. Do you not? Do you not agree?
No, you disappeared in the last game for about 30 minutes. So I think I just want to. You're bubbling up and you're showing this energy. Just go for it, man. I want you to think of Tony in your head while you go for this. Come on, Steve.
Tony LaRussa. Where do I start? He's 95 years old. I'm pretty sure that there are paramedics around him at all times because he might die any second now. And yet this old ass man is telling these young kids how to play the game. They're winning, they're hitting, they're doing everything right. But you know what they're doing wrong, Mikey?
What? Steve, tell
Having
us.
fun. Having fun. Tony LaRussa is the anti-fun police. You flip a bat, go to hell. You celebrate, you can go to hell. And you know what he does? He doesn't send you to hell. You know what he does? He throws a baseball at your head. What the hell is wrong with you? Like, can you imagine? Can you imagine if you see a kid having fun playing on the sidewalk and you're like, I don't like how he's having fun. Let me throw a rock at his head. You go to jail. Tony LaRussa. Listen, they're not successful because of you. All right? You don't even know the extra inning rules. Did you know that? They went to extra innings and he didn't even know the rules. All right? I'm pretty sure they had to wake him up from his slumber because he was passed out drunk. All right? They say, hey, Tony, we're in the extra innings. Wake up. They had to wake his ass up. All right? He is terrible. Now, with all that being said, the White Sox, I love the players. I love the team. But the manager, not so much, as you can tell.
Trudeau, I think you just said all of the plot for the Bad News Bears. I can rewind it back in my head. That's basically what it is.
Yeah, pretty much.
So
Pretty
Gracie,
much.
go ahead. I want to hear Gracie now.
I'm not following that up. I'm passing right now because
So Steve likes the White Sox. You heard it here first, all right? That's his new team. Watch out,
Well,
Red Sox and Rays.
We'll touch on this later because I have a whole topic for Tony LaRussa. So if we want to dive into it now, we can. But it's bad. And I actually want to ask Mikey and Gracie this question because you love baseball. All right. It's a crazy situation because the White Sox are really good. They're in first place. They're 3.5 games up in the division. But their manager has a problem. And the problem is his players are like close to throwing a mutiny on him and throwing him out. He called out Yermin Mercedes, and one of you two could explain the situation, what happened, because I am tired of talking. But one of you can explain what happened with him. And then the other players backed up Yermin Mercedes, and now everyone just kind of hates him in the clubhouse, which I've heard podcasts of people, like I said, I mentioned earlier, David Sampson, you should listen to the podcast. If you like baseball, nothing personal with David Sampson, great podcast. Mikey, I'm recommending, you'll love it, man. But basically, he puts it like this, right? There's two entities. There's the clubhouse and management. And the clubhouse includes players and the coach. And management's, the front office and the ownership. And basically, the clubhouse should stick together. The manager's got to have the players back. The players got to love the manager. It's got to be a cohesive unit. This is not the case. Tony LaRussa is just taking an axe to that dynamic, and just his players hate him now. I don't understand how this is going to work out.
Trudeau, you know what this reminds me of is when the Knicks had Isaiah Thomas forever, right? And it was like, why are they keeping this guy aboard? It's unbelievable. But Gracie, do you want to go over what happened with the Minnesota Twins and everything that has exemplified since?
Yeah, it was a blowout game, and Mercedes was up to bat. I believe it was a 3-0 count, actually, right, Mikey?
Yep. It was
they had the position player in throwing cheese at 46 miles per hour. Slow pitch
Tortuga.
Yeah.
Tortuga.
Honestly, the fact that Mercedes crushed that ball, it was 3-0 count. He crushes a home run off a position player. And he didn't even pimp it. Honestly, he hit the ball. He went around the bases, didn't even really pimp it that much. And LaRussa just went out after him when he talked to the media about the situation. And then the next following day when they played them, and the Twins threw behind Mercedes' back, LaRussa didn't even stick up for him. He said, yeah, he deserved it. Basically, yeah, you can throw at one of my best players. That's fine. So that's basically the situation. And Tim Anderson ended up by stepping forward and backing Mercedes. A bunch of Major League Baseball players did. I believe Poppy did as well, a retired player. Everyone knows Poppy anyway. But bad situation, horrible management. I mean, you're right, Stephen. And basically you have a 9-year-old guy in the dugout, probably drunk, passed out, and just not being in touch with modern baseball and modern baseball being fun and putting on a show for the fans.
And I think someone in the Reddit chat made a great point, and I didn't mention it earlier, was that LaRussa wasn't really a GM hire. It was actually the ownership. I know his last name's Reinsdorf. I think it's Jerry Reinsdorf. He owns the Bulls as well. But he really loved LaRussa. He wanted to have LaRussa as part of the the group. So it wasn't really the GM's decision. And that's actually one of the biggest things in baseball is there's a lot of teams that the owners muddle too much in the everyday decisions and they ruin the franchise. And this seems like a situation where the owner got his hands way too into the pot and just ruined everything. Well, I mean, granted, ruins relative because they're a very good team, but things just don't seem to be right. Who was it? Who was it?
It's Emmanuel. It's Emmanuel.
Was it you, Emmanuel?
It was. I don't know. I keep putting it off. I don't know why.
I just want to take a brief pause and mention that I don't understand how you can be a person that has your phone on anything but vibrate.
It's not my phone. It's like all the other devices I've connected. I got 6 devices in front of me. All of them could go off at any moment. I swear to God. I swear to God. You can see my devices are all here. They're all here. Okay.
It's impressive setup for sure.
Okay.
I just want to say I don't know how, like, you guys are all vibrate people, right? Like, as far as your phone, always, all day, every day.
Mm-hmm.
My phone has been on vibrate since like 2008. Like, I don't know why you would do anything else.
Steve, I think you're unaware of one of the comments that LaRussa made. Did you know what he said about Lance Lynn afterwards?
Oh God, I don't even want to know. Go ahead.
Okay, so Lance Lynn is pretty much the ace of the staff right now, and he's super durable. But Lance Lynn basically had Mercedes back and said that LaRussa was wrong. And this was LaRussa's comments to the public. Didn't even go talk to Lance Lynn. You ready for this? Lance has a locker. I have an office.
Oh my God. I hope Lance walked up to that office and gave him the backhand slap. What an asshole.
I thought you knew. Like, I was thinking about it. I'm like, I don't think he knows about this.
Just because we haven't trashed on LaRussa enough, because I want this to be the most LaRussa trash podcast ever, can one of you explain what happened with this whole LaRussa Lounge thing?
Oh, okay. So what happened was there was a woman who has worked and served for the White Sox for about, I want to say 20 to 30 years. I don't know exactly what. And because of her hard work and dedication, they named this lounge after her. And it's been that way for, I want to say 5 to 10 years. It's been pretty great. People love it. People loved her and what she brought to, being what you want, a great host. And this past month, Tony LaRussa has been there for 3-4 months now, and they take her name off of it and make it the LaRussa Lounge, which is crazy. It's just so trashy. I know that the White Sox guy that's listening probably hates me already, but I'm sorry, buddy. That is so bad. That is just not cool at all. But Gracie, what do you think?
Yeah, and the timing of it too was it just fell just perfectly just to make, people out there hate LaRussa even more. I mean, he stepped foot into the stadium and they're already naming things after before he even accomplished anything. And like we said before the podcast, anyone can manage the Chicago White Sox team and have the team as successful as they are with the roster they have and the players they have. So,
yeah, I mean, they've been successful, but let's see how this thing ends up. For sure.
But this is going to hurt them in the long run because look at a player like Marcus Stroman. He didn't join that team. He came out publicly and said, I know what team I'm not signing with, which was the White Sox after they hired him. There's going to be more like this. I guarantee it. So definitely one of the not so great franchise right now with the management.
Yeah, so our buddy from Chicago actually gave us a little inside information, apparently, that people are very upset about that, and they are actually working to fix that and change that back. So appreciate the inside scoop there, Chicago Tank. Hey, man, if you like the podcast, remember, rate, subscribe, review. We got Balls Podcast. Gracie, what you got?
No, I mean, going off of what you just said, I'm glad they're going to fix that situation because that really is just a horrible taste. And I don't even remember what I was going to say before you said that, to be honest with you.
Don't worry.
I want to say one last thing before we switch it up is I know how to fix all of this. It's very simple, and you don't even have to pay me, White Sox. This is free for you. Fire LaRussa. It's just that simple. Fire him. Get someone. I'd rather you guys go and get anybody from the Astros than LaRussa. That's how much I don't like LaRussa. There you go.
Wow.
Perfect segue. I just want those listening to the podcast to understand Tony LaRussa loves the unwritten rules, and that will come back into this podcast in about 10, 20 minutes. So please keep listening. We have a little surprise for you. Speaking of the A's, I kind of want to move on to that. But before we get into that, I wanted to talk to Emmanuel because he's been very quiet and we miss him very much. I actually have something for you, Emmanuel.
Go ahead. I'm all ears.
So we know that you're living in Toronto, Canada, and it's a little different. Life's a little different in Toronto. We're partying in the USA, as Miley Cyrus would say. Partying in the USA. Masks are off, man. We're having a good time. Vaccinations are everywhere. Get your shot, people. It's good for you. But in Canada, I think you're still locked in your house, correct?
Yeah, we're locked in our house. We've been locked in our house, and no stores are open. Only. Okay, just to be clear, lockdown in Canada is you can only buy essential products. So grocery stores are open and certain other types of pharmacies and stuff like that. If you go into a store like a Walmart or you go and you try to buy a volleyball, the actual computer won't let you buy it because it's not an essential product. Like, I'm not even joking about that. Okay. Not even joking. So again, they're trying to avoid what the US went through with the big spike. So they're not that, it's still every single death is real and everything is very, very important. But at the end of the day, we're locked down in Canada and we're continuing to lock down until I think June 20th, I think.
What a novel idea, caring about people around you dying.
Yeah.
Anyways, I wanted to take your experience with being locked inside and kind of ask you from a Canadian perspective what's going on here in the United States. So we're open, baby. We're open for business, which we got good vaccination numbers. We're good. I'm not trying to shame anyone that's going out that's been vaccinated. But I want to particularly ask you about some of these things that's happened in the NBA the past couple of days. I don't know if you've heard about this at all. Yeah, you have no idea.
No, go tell me. I probably have heard it, but I don't
know. We have freedoms to go out and have a good time and go to NBA games and have full capacity stadiums, which is amazing. So week number 1, like day number 3 that we're letting people into the stadium, this is what's have already happened so far, 3 days in. Ready? We have a fan in Philadelphia pouring a full thing of popcorn on Russell Westbrook, a player. We have a Knicks fan spitting on a player, Trae Young. We have a Jazz fan getting kicked out for verbally abusing another player's parents and saying some very questionable racist things. And then we have a Boston fan arrested for throwing a water bottle at a player after the game. So 3 days of freedom. We're doing all this, baby. I just want to hear from a Canadian. Like, you're stuck inside.
This is why you guys can't have good things. You guys can't have nice things. Here's the thing. It is one of these things that we just look at you guys in awe, kind of saying, do you guys not see how important it is to get back into the games? I respect the players, respect the game. Like, that's what you should be doing, but you're not. It's like, it's everybody for themselves. It's like, whatever I want to do is what I want to do. And that's how Canadians look at Americans.
I mean, that's kind of what America is, isn't it?
Kind of, I guess.
We're selfish dicks.
Yeah, well.
But I will say, I mean, we wanted quote unquote return to normalcy. This seems about right. We're being assholes to players and being dicks. I think we're back, baby. We're normal.
There's also been like a crazy amount of brawls happening in the stands for baseball games too. It's like the world's gone mad since going back to normalcy. It's crazy.
Yep. I just wanted to ask you, Emmanuel, because you're sitting in your house locked in with the lock and key. I just wanted to get your opinion on what the hell's going on.
No, we watch it and it's entertainment, right? In terms of watching this and say, oh, it doesn't phase anybody around the world and even Canadians. We kind of now say, oh, okay, well, that happened. There's nothing that is kind of over the top anymore, right? Because it's kind of like, oh, yeah, that happened. And if it happens in Florida, it's even worse because then you say, okay, well, it's Florida. So, God.
Yeah, Florida. I mean, no offense, Gracie, but Florida, everyone jokes on Florida. It's like the armpit of the world.
I mean, I'm not going to argue that. I've seen people down here. I mean, I'm lucky I live in Tampa, but whenever I have to travel outside of the city, it's like a whole nother country. It's crazy.
You got good beaches.
We do.
You got that going for you.
Yeah, alligators. We got
alligators. That. Gator World. Check it out. If you're ever in Florida. I went to Gator World, by the way, when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Just don't recommend it. Anyways, I want to jump to Mikey's favorite division in baseball before we get into our last couple segments. I want to talk about my favorite team in the MLB season, which is the Houston Astros. They're a great family-oriented team. Fun. They play the game the right way. I love them. Right, Mikey?
The Houston Astros are as likable as you are right now, Steve. That's not very likable. They are trash. They are trash. All 5 players that were on that asterisk of a team that are still on there.
So
they will not make the playoffs.
You can't call them trash. They might be trash can, but not trash. But we talked before the show, and I think the Houston Astros are criminally underrated as a baseball team right now. They are only second in their division. I believe they're behind the Oakland A's, who I think they play in a football stadium, so get out of here with that. But they're behind the Oakland A's, and the Oakland A's, their run differential, -10, which means they give up, over the course of the season, they've given up 10 more runs than they've scored. The Houston Astros are +48, so they've scored 48 more runs than they've given up. So to me, that tells me the Houston Astros have been a much more consistent team as far as winning, and the Oakland A's have been very, very lucky to have all those wins, considering their score differential is in the negatives.
Okay, Steve, let's start with this. You have probably watched 4 games all season on all of the teams, okay? So you can look at your little run differentials or whatever you want. And I told you this beforehand, and obviously you waited till the show. How is their schedule right now?
Listen, man.
Go ahead.
First, I just want to say one thing. Fans and listeners of the podcast, Mikey hates the Astros. He hopes everything negative happens to them. So take any Astros from him and any Astros talk with a grain of salt.
Okay, first off, I like Zach Greinke. I like Zach Greinke.
Okay.
Remember that.
Secondly, my good friend over here, Gracie, gave me a little stat before the show because Mikey said, oh, the strength of schedule, they've played easy teams. But guess who they've played 10 times, Mikey? The Oakland Athletics. So if you're saying their strength of schedule is bad and they've played easy teams, guess what? You're calling Oakland Athletics bad.
Okay, so that's fair. Oh, so go ahead, Gracie. Sorry.
Yeah, and out of that, they've won 2 out of 3 series, and they swept them once in a 4-game series at the beginning of the season. So yeah, I mean the rest of their schedule's not looking great, but if you look at the teams like the Oakland A's that we're playing, they're doing well against teams like that. So I'm really interested to see down the road this coming 2 weeks how they play. But I think they're good as well.
Let's start off with number 1. The A's, right? They're going to their soft part of the schedule. That's number 1, okay? They're still in first with going through a very difficult part. If you look at their first, I think it was like 15 games, they played all playoff teams from last year that were very good teams. All right? And if you want to say the Astros are good, I'll give you that. They're decent at best. They're not a playoff team. They're not a playoff team right now with an easy schedule. Next. No. Next.
No, timeout.
What?
Timeout.
No, I gave you your time to talk.
I
gave you your time to talk. I want to keep going. You have no payroll or people that you can trade. Your owner has said he's not spending anymore. So you have no help coming around the bend also. And a lot of teams are reluctant to trade with them as well. Just giving you the heads up on top of that. But go ahead, Steve.
Wow.
I think it's fair to dislike them. But to say they're bad is just not true. But listen, you said that you guarantee they won't make the playoffs.
Yeah, same thing as you guaranteeing that the Rays wouldn't make the playoffs. So go ahead. Yeah,
that's.
But remember, but the other thing is, I'm not switching my tune. I'm actually sticking to my stuff.
This is
with
perfect.
The Rays being the best team in the AL East.
So you guarantee the Astros won't make the playoffs.
Absolutely,
and that includes the play-in game, right? The playoffs. The 2 wild card games.
Unlike basketball, Steve, that is a playoff game.
Okay,
no perfect.
What. So, Emmanuel, I want you to be the arbiter in this. Okay,
absolutely. Okay.
I want to bet Michael that the Houston Astros will make the playoffs in some capacity, and you say they won't, correct?
Yes, and this is also another thing I'm feeling really good about because with your chances, just like the bucket challenge, which has no strategic value at all, you're also going to mess up on this too. But go ahead.
So let's say this. Let's put a bet, okay? Let's actually have like no humiliation bet. Let's make a nice bet for charity,
like fun.
Yeah, no, like a money bet for charity.
Okay.
Let's say
Like,
if the Houston Astros make the playoffs, you have to give a sum of money to a Houston charity.
how about this? How about this? Right? Give me it. I want.
And if they lose, I will. If they don't make the playoffs, I will put money towards a charity of your choosing.
Okay. First off, right? I'm in on a bet, but I want to make it better, and I want to take some time to make an actual good bet.
Oh,
Not
see,
just
folks,
one
he's
that just is
backing
out.
out. He's backing out already.
Coming from the guy who literally will say 20 things and none of them will stick, and then you'll be like, oh, but this and that. Yeah. All right, Steve. I've said it from before. Grace tried to bet me last time that we were on the show. I don't know if it's a Trudeau thing and wanting to bet me on something, that they will not make the playoffs. And right now, if the season ended today, as Steve said, oh man, we know what we have right now because we've played this many games, I would be right. And we'll see. I know for a fact they're not going to make any crazy moves at the deadline, and we'll see what happens with Carrera. So yeah, let's announce the bet, right, on our social media, on Instagram, right, this
Where's that
upcoming
Instagram,
week.
by the way?
We got balls net.
I can't. It's over there. Yeah.
It's
hard.
like trying to point it.
So we're into like a little Zoom screen, but everything's reversed. So if you go right, it goes left. It's very confusing.
It's confusing when you point at us to tell us to start.
I know.
Talking.
I'm sorry. I'm really
You're
confused.
like,
So let's just say I will take the Houston Astros making the playoffs. You will say they will not make the playoffs. The sum and charity is TBD, but we'll do like some sort of like small sum just for fun for charity. It's fair.
yeah, I'm in.
Okay. What do you got,
Okay.
Emmanuel?
And I'm the judge, right? So I'm the judge. Court's in
I
order.
mean, so you'll.
What is he the judge of? Like what?
I don't know.
Oh, the Astros have to play a play-in game. If they make the playoffs, they make the playoffs. If they
I just
don't,
want
they
him to
don't.
be like someone who listened because he's always with us. So he'll be the person who says they absolutely said it or they absolutely did not. So
I'm a witness.
all right, so we'll come back with the actual amount of whatever afterwards. We're getting a little short on time. We had a segment saved at the end, but I want to go over one more division really quick because I know it's one that Mikey is watching right now. Because Gracie, spoiler alert: every time Mikey's doing that with his eyes like this, looking up, he's watching Mookie Betts.
No.
every
I'm
time.
watching Oakland versus Seattle right now,
Yeah.
and it's tied up.
So he's always watching baseball while we're recording. He's not paying attention at all to the show.
No.
That's the magic, the secret behind the show. He's never watching. So I want to talk about the NL West because it might be the most exciting division in baseball. We all came into the season thinking, oh my God, Padres, Dodgers, like who's going to win? It's going to be a battle. San Francisco Giants, welcome to the chat. They're right in the mix. They're actually in first as of today, which is crazy. So I want to start with our guest, Gracie, because she's been a little quiet recently. What's going on with this division?
I mean, it's crazy. I've been waiting for the Giants to fall off for about the past month or so, and they continue to win ball games. And it's crazy to think that a team that we really all kind of thought, oh, you know, third, fourth place team, maybe even a fourth place team, not even third, is doing so well. And they're doing well against their divisional rivals too, which is they're holding their own. I hope they continue momentum. It is exciting to have that three-way, those three teams really pushing it. And like you said, it is the most exciting. Besides the AL East, I think they kind of co-line, but I think that the NL West is one of the most exciting divisions in baseball.
Yeah, right now the Padres are in first by half a game. It's back and forth. The Giants are great. Oh, no. Steve was right. The Giants are up a half a game. No, the Giants are up a half a game. They won today. The Giants are legit. They're a good team. They're solid. They remind me of like a mini Dodgers team. You know, they're doing everything right. They have a Fahey has done a great job with that team. You know, he's building it just like he did with Friedman over at the Dodgers. So yeah, they're gonna be hard to beat. They have a lot of free agents coming off. It's gonna be fun to see what they do in the trade deadline, if they hold pack like they did with Madison Bumgarner, or if they're going to trade off some pieces and possibly get some more prospects to be even better, you know, in the future. So we'll see what happens. They have a lot of old guys showing up too. A lot of Albert Pujols.
So I'm not a big baseball fan. I'm be honest. I'm wearing the baseball jersey. I look like I'm super fan, but I've watched 2 games this year. And it's been in the past week. It's been like, and Can I actually say it hasn't been a full game? I watched the 8th and 9th inning of 2 Tampa Bay Rays games. That's it. That's all I need to know. I get baseball. First of all, I actually have a question. This is completely off topic, and I apologize because I've had a couple glasses of Courvoisier, so I'm going to kind of ramble a little bit. How do you know or watch baseball and know when a guy is good? Because I watched 2 games, and like if I watch 2 basketball games, right, I can be like, oh, that guy's a good basketball player. I can tell by just watching basketball. Baseball, I feel like you have to like watch a whole season to actually figure out if somebody's good. Am I wrong with this or no?
Yeah, some players can have, just a great game. At the Red Sox game that we went to, Steve, Richards was,
no. What's my guy from the Toronto Blue Jays that I fell in love with? Rowdy. His first name's Rowdy.
Oh, Rowdy Tellez. Like, he's bad. Like, we both know he's bad, but no one's going to tell Rowdy Tellez he's bad. The guy literally looks like a linebacker. But you're absolutely right. It's hard to see how do you manage a base? Like, how do you tell if a baseball player is good? Because the other thing, too, is it also depends on your position, right? You could be a Gary Sanchez who, if you look at him, you're like, wow, and how he hits, he's a really strong player, but he's not really a great catcher. He doesn't call the game well. He's kind of lazy, stuff like that. So it is really, really tough. You make a great point, Trudeau. Gracie?
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, guys have streaks where they're good, streaks where they're bad. I think really when you take like maybe 30 games, 60 games, you kind of can assess it. The things I always look for is plate approach. How do they adjust if they make a mistake at their next at bat? Things like that really kind of show when guys are going to get out of slumps and start performing well. So, yeah, I mean, it's tough. It's not like any other sport because it's a sport up and down. So if you play so many games in the season, you're not going to perform every single game. The guy goes 1 for 3, he's going to be an all-star,
So I'm sorry to take us off topic. Let's just get right back. I just want to finish up with the NL West talk. I just want to say before we get into like who do you think is going to win the division, because it's great. I actually personally think that all 3 teams could make the playoffs. Right now, if the season ended today, all 3 would be in, which is fantastic. But I just want to shout out to the Padres. They're my favorite team in baseball, only because of the swag chain. That thing is amazing. For those who don't know, it's a giant gold chain similar to the University of Miami, the turnover chain. And it has an SD for San Diego in the middle, and it spins like a spinner. Like, remember those old wheels like back in the day, that the spinner wheels? I love it. All right, we need more of that in baseball.
I think Tony LaRussa sees that in his nightmares, to be honest with you. I think he literally sees that spinning around in his nightmares.
I texted Gracie, Mikey, a couple weeks ago with the picture of the swag chain, and I said, "Hey, when the Padres play the White Sox, do you think Tony LaRussa will hit every batter? Will hit every batter in a row, just for the sake of the game?"
No, what he's gonna do, Steve, is he's gonna take his cleat off and go to the other dugouts and try to give it to Tatis Jr. And he's gonna be like, "This was for that time too that you hit a grand slam and your team was up as well." He's just the worst, man.
He might actually take them on himself and just start whipping it at guys.
I absolutely love what the Padres are doing. I love how Trevor Bauer, there's a thing back and forth with it. It's so good for baseball. You need this drama. And I don't know if you saw last night's game, a player on the Giants, after he hit a home run, Bauer wasn't even pitching. He hits a home run and he goes to the home plate and he does the sword thing that Bauer does before he touches it. That's great for baseball. That's what they need. This is awesome. And the Padres are an exciting team. They really are. Who's their GM over there with the Padres, Gracie? Do you remember? Like, I can't think off the top of my head. He's done a great job. He's done a great job. I know Snell hasn't been maybe the best, but that's why we play the full season. The Padres are fun to watch. You know, Manny Machado's always solid. You can say what you want about the guy, but he always brings it, and they're just a great team. And Tommy Pham. How can you not love Tommy Pham, man? Have you ever seen a reporter when he was in Tampa, like, asked him some question? He just went on a tear of like just being upset and was like, "I didn't have a dad. I had to throw the ball to myself and catch it." And he just like but he's got that mentality. You need that in the clubhouse. Like a guy that doesn't imagine Tommy Pham on the White Sox. That would be amazing. And he's going to be a free agent this year.
Do you guys have any favorites that you'd like to win that division? Just like not who do you think's going to win, but who would you like to win? Because I know, Mike, you might say Dodgers.
I'm going to say Dodgers. I would love to see the Padres get in and then, they win the wild card and then have to play someone else. And then those two teams meet. If you watch every game with the Padres and the Dodgers, it's a playoff game every single time out. Both teams just want to win. They don't like each other. It's really fun. Gracie?
My favorite would be the Padres. I just, like we said, I just think they're such a fun team. And I mean, I'm not a huge Dodgers person. I think that, we've long seen the Dodgers dominate the division. I really just want to see the Padres take it this year.
No one's ever going to say the Giants on that answer.
They're scrappy. They're a scrappy team that but they're not fun. They're the ones that pee sitting down. They're very cautious of what they do and say. That's the Giants in a nutshell for you. Except for Cueto.
Who's our guy from the Giants? Crawford?
Yeah, Crawford.
That guy's having an amazing season, and I'm going to make a prediction now that he is definitely doing something a little funky. You know what I mean?
Contract year too, I believe, right, Mikey?
It's a contract. A lot of them are under contract, but Crawford looks like someone who literally when he drops food, he looks at it and then eats it after the 5-second roll. That's just how he's a dungy little player.
So we're getting towards the end of the show when I wanted to have our last segment ready to go. We've been talking a lot about our friend Tony LaRussa, which we all know as from earlier in the show. He is the enforcer of unwritten rules. Basically, in baseball, when guys do things that he doesn't like, that's against the quote-unquote unwritten rules, he throws baseballs at him because he's that type of manager. So we decided that Tony LaRussa, smart guy, we should have him as our judge and arbiter of the unwritten rules of everyday life. So we have a segment called Tony's Court or LaRussa's Court, where he makes the decisions on everyday life problems. So we're going to start that right now.
What you are witnessing is real. The participants are not actors. They are actual litigants with a case pending in a California municipal court. Both parties have agreed to dismiss their court cases and have their dispute settled here in our forum.
LaRussa's Court. All rise! The Honorable Judge Tony LaRussa cannot make it today, so he has sent some replacements. The Honorable Judge, that's a tough word. The Honorable Judge Gracie Trudeau, Michael Almeida, and Emmanuel Pacheco will stand in today. You three judges will be ruling in behalf of Tony LaRussa and should give rulings that he would give himself. Does that make sense?
Yep.
All right, so let me get the court cases out. The first court case for you to judge on. The defendant was found guilty of leaving his shopping cart in the middle of the parking lot and not returning it back to the carriage carousel. Anyone has a ruling on this?
Well, if we're going to go with good old Uncle Tony, it's got to be you're going to throw it at his head.
Wow, that's a very high penalty.
We don't do that. You gotta bring your shopping cart back.
I'm gonna say throw it behind him and then see what happens the next time. Now, if he goes to the beginning and leaves it there, then you gotta throw it.
But will they learn? I think you got to throw it at his head so that he'll.
Wow. So that seems like a very harsh ruling on the shopping cart. We take that penalty very seriously. 2 out of 3 votes. It's a heavy penalty of getting the ball thrown at your head. Excellent. All right, the next defendant. This defendant was found guilty of not using their blinkers when they changed lanes.
Wow.
Michael.
Okay, I'm going to wait and talk to the media after the game and call them out. I'm not going to throw. I'm going to let them know that I'm not happy with it. If they do it again, there's going to be consequences because I have the office and they probably just have a locker.
We're going to throw it right at the head.
Wow! That's a heavy penalty.
Listen, I live in Florida and nobody uses their blinkers. Wait, I get cut off 24/7. So maybe it's just because of that, but I'm throwing at their head.
Wow.
You don't need car insurance to live in Florida, right? Is that like a rule?
Half the people don't. Literally, they don't.
The honorable judge, Emmanuel Pacheco, what is your ruling?
I would give them the benefit of the doubt. I'd give them a warning, and that's about it. That's it. And
All right.
So we're not going to yell at them.
So this defendant will just receive a stern warning in the media. Next defendant. This defendant was found guilty of leaving less than a 15% tip after dining at a restaurant. A bad tipper. Honorable Judge Gracie Trudeau, what is your ruling?
Throw it at their head.
Wow. Do you want to throw it at everybody?
I'm getting my inner LaRussa out right now.
All right, throw it their head. Wow. Honorable Judge Emmanuel Pacheco, what is your ruling?
What is a restaurant again? I haven't been in one in a long time, so I don't know what a tip is. You know what? It's one of these things. I would give it a pass, and I would just give them a warning.
Shout out to Pick, wherever you are, Pick. I know that you're going to go to Applebee's, on your wedding, and you got to leave a tip. That's 100% the rule. So Tony LaRussa is very, very angry, and he's going to meet you in the parking lot to tell his peace of mind after having some RCA with Steve and slash your tires.
So the ruling is throwing at the man's head. Wonderful. And just a side note, why can't we just be like Europe and just have it all included instead of relying on tips? What are we doing here in America? Yeah. Unbelievable. All right, back to the proceedings. Next court case. This defendant was not picking up her dog poop after the dog pooped on the sidewalk. What is the ruling in the LaRussa's court? Michael.
LaRussa's a little drunk there, Steve. Did she poop on the driveway, or did he have a little confused there? Which one?
I let you pick your poison. I might be a little LaRussa, if you know what I mean. So pick your poison on that one.
If she pooped, fair game. The person probably had to go. That's embarrassing enough. If she didn't pick her little dog's trash, she's gonna have to get beamed in the head. It's just that simple.
Honorable Judge Emmanuel Pacheco.
Oh, I agree 100%. Like that's a no-no.
It's a cardinal sin.
Cardinal sin. Beamed right in the head.
Absolutely. Honorable Judge Gracie.
Yep, beam in the head.
Wow, 3 beams in the head. Pick up your dog shit. You were just beamed in the head for being a jerk. All right, our next court case. Let's see. This defendant was found guilty of listening to their music in public space on their phone with no headphones on. So they played it real loud for everybody to hear. Does this person deserve to be beamed in the head with a baseball via Tony LaRussa ruling, or maybe just a little warning? Honorable Judge Mikey Almeida, what is your ruling?
Depending on what the music is, it might just be a friendly, don't do it again, buddy. I feel like that's how Tony LaRussa starts his sentences. You listen up, pal. And stuff like that. That sounds like Tony LaRussa right there.
Lots of handshaking, right? Like up in the sky, like you whippersnappers. Right?
Who's that? Wait, Billy Madison with the poop on the doorstep. The old man, remember?
Lighting the poop on fire?
Yeah. It smells like poo again.
We have to have one episode where we talk about how we ate people's houses. We'll have to get into that one day.
Don't know what you're talking about. Straight A student, honor roll.
Exactly.
Went to bed early every single day, Steven.
The Honorable Judge Emmanuel Pacheco. I don't know what the Honorable Judge Michael Almeida said. He gave me a very lukewarm answer. So, Emmanuel, your ruling.
Pass. I think it's a pass. I don't think it's. I think it's a pass. I don't think it's like a beam at the head.
I don't want to influence this, but Gracie, you go ahead and I will put my 2 cents in.
Yeah, I'm going to say I'm going to throw behind him, but not actually in him. Give him one.
Listen, I am hitting, of all the crimes that have been committed, I am beaming this person straight in the noggin. You remember Giancarlo Stanton? Yeah, that type of beam.
Steve.
Who is that?
Who was that?
That's mine. Amber's hooked up to the laptop.
You're getting beamed in the head by Tony LaRussa. No, but seriously, the people who play their music in public on their phone out loud, you are the worst because you know what? You're doing it on purpose. Headphones are like $10. You know you have a pair. You buy the iPhone, it comes with headphones. You're just being an asshole. Beam him in the head. Thank you. All right, a couple more court cases before we get out of here today. This defendant was found guilty of using the 15 items or less lane, but they had more than 15 items. The Honorable Judge Emmanuel Pacheco, what is your ruling?
This is a pass, okay? Because that's just an arbitrary rule, okay? At the end of the day, again, if it's a packed grocery store and everybody's lining up, sure, but I think it's a pass.
Okay, what is your threshold on the 15 items or less? Because some people, 16 items, I get it. 17 items, okay. But some people get those 20, 21. They really push the limit.
No, but there's a lot. Like, again, there's a line. If you have a full shopping cart and you're just disregarding the rule, okay. But if you got, like, let's say you have 25 individually wrapped roses that you're giving to all the groups in the office. Okay, so it's like, it's a scan, okay? That's a scan. Okay?
Yeah, here's the thing. It depends on how many scans, though, right? So if you have a 6-pack of Coke, it scans once. It's one item. If you have 25 individual scan items, that's 25 items.
Wait. I had a person in front of me at exactly that. And I just burger buns. That's all I needed. One thing. I waited in line. I let this person in front of me. They went in. They had 3 items. But you know what? They spent 15 minutes picking their goddamn lottery tickets. And that was not right. But I still gave them a pass.
Mariah is 100% correct because Emmanuel is a very nice Toronto Canadian. Someone could come up to the line with 100 items. He'd be like, "Oh yeah, don't you know? Just come on through. Yeah, okay, 100 items, no problem." Like, you would be so kind. It's not even funny. Am I wrong?
No. I don't know things that bother me. I can get mad at people, but I will give most people, these things are not like life-threatening. These things are not, anything that you have to worry about. So.
Michael, do you have a ruling? The Honorable Judge Michael Almeida.
Well, first off, I don't like how Emmanuel is being all technical today. Like, he's like, oh man, if they have a bag of Skittles and there's 35 Skittles in there and some of them are red, like, that's crazy. Then the other thing is with Trudeau, where are you going shopping, Trudeau, that it doesn't have more express lines than one? Does he go to like the old school grocery stores that have like 2? Because I know when I go to, Walmart or to Stop and Shop, they have a ton of express lines. It's never that busy. There's never too many people. Like,
what time is he shopping? Is he shopping at 1 a.m. and that's the reason why? Maybe
we're not throwing at people that do it. If they have like 50, then absolutely, but I'm not throwing at anybody. I'm just looking the other way and just calling them a moron or giving them like Tim Anderson treatment as Tony LaRussa would. Gracie, what do you think?
Giving him a pass. Mikey's
I agree. I give a pass unless it's outrageous, but a few items over, depending on how packed the store is, give him a pass.
All right, the ruling has come down. A free pass for this gentleman. All right, next court case. This one drives me bananas. The defendant was found merging on the highway last second, and they definitely knew there was a long line waiting to get to their exit. Are you throwing at their head? Honorable Judge Michael.
I'm getting out of my car with the bat, and I'm smashing those nice, beautiful headlights, especially when it's a nice car too. And you're like, what, my time's not worth yours? Tony LaRussa is really upset. Being as old as he is, he doesn't have as much time as everybody else does. He doesn't do that.
And I want to say this coming from someone who lives in Boston, this is probably more egregious to me and Mikey, because in Boston, these people, especially, listen, Storrow Drive, you people know who you are. You are assholes, okay? I don't know if they do that as much in Tampa and definitely not in Toronto. So maybe you won't be as hard. So let me get the Honorable Judge Gracie Trudeau's ruling.
half the people in Florida don't have their driver's license to begin with. So I'm taking out the batting practice bucket of balls and I'm just chucking nonstop, like Elf when he's throwing the snowballs. Just.
Okay. So here's the thing. I think as a Canadian, and most times if I'm going to be in the parking lot, there's going to be a lot of Americans. So I will let it pass. But deep down inside, I'm hoping the guy behind me or in front of me goes and gets his bat, like Mikey, and then I'll watch. So I will take a pass, but I'll defer it to somebody else, and I will sit there and watch.
Now, I want to address something that our good friend Chicago Tank put in the chat.
Oh God,
we're not talking about the zipper. We know about the zipper. 1 2 1 2. Like we're not talking about the merge onto the highway. We're talking the exit ramp. So everyone wants to take this very popular exit off the highway, and you could see the long line of cars waiting to get off the highway. And this one asshole says, "I'll wait till the very end and then try to push myself right in at the exit because they don't want to wait the line." And we know you people. You didn't forget. You knew the whole time. You're just an asshole.
Trudeau, you're talking about, I know exactly which one you're talking about on
At the
Sterling
garden,
Drive.
right at the garden.
Yeah.
Like, I take it right. Yeah. And you know what? I drove home once with a friend who did that, and he's just like, "Watch this," and he went all the way to the end and did it, and I hid my face because I was so embarrassed, man. I was like, we deserve to get punched in the face. I would take the punch in the face at that point. I deserved it. All right, so the ruling is not only getting hit with a baseball, but getting hit with a bat or something is really harsh in this one, right?
No. Like the tail lights. You're taking out their
Taking out the tail lights. Okay.
Yeah. You're Johnny Drumming them.
All right, last couple. This one drives me bananas. My neighbor definitely doesn't listen to the podcast, so I can just say this.
I'm
gonna find her. I'm gonna find who this thing is.
Check and tell him to listen to this. This is being recorded.
When I come to your place, Steve, I'm gonna go knock on their door and be like, "I need to show you something." So go ahead, buddy.
The defendant was found guilty of cutting their grass at 9 a.m. on a Sunday morning. Judge Michael Almeida.
That's a pass. That one doesn't bother me.
Judge Gracie Trudeau.
Yeah, that's a pass.
Wow.
Last weekend.
Listen, you guys don't understand. Listen.
What do you mean you don't understand? We're all homeowners.
Yes, and I understand the rules of being a homeowner as a homeowner. You don't cut your grass at 9 a.m. in the morning. It's my Saturday and Sunday morning. This is the one time in my week I get to sleep in. And you're running your lawnmower, waking the whole neighborhood up at 9 in the morning when everyone's trying to sleep in. All right?
Mariah doesn't agree with you, Steven.
Exactly.
Mariah doesn't. And I agree with Mariah on this one.
100%. That is the beauty of the weekend. Listening to the lawnmower going off.
It's beautiful.
Means that it's a nice day. It's
beautiful at 11 a.m. when everybody's awake. I purposely I don't do any hammering. I don't do any lawn mowing. I don't do anything until at least 10 a.m. because you know what? If there's a neighbor who wants to enjoy their slumber on Saturday and Sunday morning, I don't want to wake them up. I want to let them sleep in and enjoy their day.
No.
Okay, Steve, it's okay.
Wow, I'm salty. I'm the only one on that one. All right,
Steve, why don't you get one of those noisemakers?
I personally, this might be a shocker, maybe not. I sleep with a fan. I sleep with a fan on all year round. So like if it's 10 degrees outside, I run the fan inside the room. I love the sound of the fan, so I don't use a noisemaker. We
got some loud people watching today. Sauce Boss, wait, the beauty of your weekend for you is a lawn mowing.
No, I appreciate Sauce Boss, Mariah, and Chicago. I appreciate you guys adding to the show. It's been a lot of fun having interactions with you guys. All right, so that ruling is nothing. Pass. All right. Last couple. We'll do this last few really quick. The defendant was found guilty of turning on their phone and using their phone during the movie in a movie theater.
It really bothers me when people don't turn on their phone during a podcast when they're asked several times not to. So we're beating them on the head on this one. Just I don't want to name any names. I just want them to know that if they do it, there is going to be significant revenge given by Tony LaRussa. Go on, Emmanuel. We're waiting.
Okay, I have to defend myself. Okay, so first, in today's day and age, there's so many devices. And again, your phone will go off. Look, this is my watch. Watch what happens.
It's 7:51.
Okay?
Good evening.
That's my watch. So these things will go off. It's a normal thing. This is like a normal thing now.
Are you trying to annoy your wife as much as you can throughout the week? That's just annoying. Like, what are we doing here?
7:52.
All right. So, Manuel, what is your ruling on this, Honorable Judge?
It's a pass. It's a pass.
Honorable Judge Gracie?
I'm definitely beaming in the head.
All right. So I think that's like a neutral. We'll settle the difference and we'll throw around them and give them a warning. Last three. Let's
Last three, Trudeau? Just pick one.
We'll do last two.
What are we
last
doing,
two.
man?
Last two.
Two.
Last two. This one's controversial because I don't understand the big deal about this, but people have been heated in the past about this one issue. Are you ready? Last two. First one. The defendant was found guilty of reclining their seat on a plane. The Honorable Judge Michael Almeida, you may proceed.
What was the second thing we could do? Like, I know you can walk.
No. Hold on to that one. That's the crescendo, the ending.
I'm gonna say pass. I've been on a lot of flights and people need like sleep, and it doesn't really bother me.
Honorable Judge Emmanuel.
Okay, so I go on a lot of planes. Okay, I'm on a plane. Well, not for the last year, but I've been on a plane. It depends which airline, because if it's a Southwest flight or if it's an Air Canada flight, if an Emirates
Southwest is cheap.
reclining is a very different scenario. I've been on Southwest flights, and I'm telling you now, reclining an inch literally hits my knees, and I can't sit there. So it depends
Some
on
people
the
get
airline.
mad. Dependent.
Yeah,
Okay, Gracie.
I would get upset because that's just a courtesy thing too. But yeah, I would get upset.
I'm gonna give a pass. Maybe because my legs are short, I don't get hit in the knee, but I'll give a pass.
Yeah, I don't understand this. I always recline, but apparently people get very upset. Like it's like a unwritten rule that I've never heard of, not reclining on the seats. Side note: has anyone ever in this chat room flown first class? Because I've never.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm super elite on Air Canada.
Oh,
I get this. The lay flat is like
Wow.
my standard.
I think if you're flying anything over 5 hours, you should just pay the extra and have the first class. Like it's worth it, and then you guys can relax.
okay, Scrooge McDuck over here, money bags. Jesus, man.
Well, you're the one that's gonna have to pay for the charities. You better make sure you
I don't know, man. So
keep your pennies.
all right, we got the last one. Now this is the Tony LaRussa court, not the Michael Almeida court, not the Emmanuel Pacheco court, not the Gracie Trudeau court. This is what Tony LaRussa would judge. The last one. The defendant was found guilty of drinking and driving.
Oh.
Michael Almeida, what would Tony LaRussa rule?
I'm gonna pass. I would love to throw a ball at Tony LaRussa's head. That's all.
What would Tony LaRussa say about that activity?
Tony LaRussa would be too drunk to even like be able to say it. He'd be like, "Oh, what? I'm not drinking. What? Drinking? What's that?" God, no.
The Honorable Judge Gracie Trudeau, what would Tony LaRussa think about drinking and driving?
Tony LaRussa would sign anybody who drank and drive.
He's a big fan, by the way, Emmanuel. He has about 3 or 4 DUIs already, so he loves it.
I get that. And again, as him, I would pass, but as a human being, I would definitely beam him in the head.
Trudeau, I would like if I do lose with the Astro thing to do the Tony LaRussa thing, and I'm gonna donate to Dare for Kids. So
there we go.
Dare for Kids is where it's at. Tony LaRussa would definitely pick that.
I just want to put out there that we at the We Got Balls podcast do not promote drinking and driving. Never drink and drive. Always call a friend or a cab. But Tony LaRussa, on the other hand, he's had a little history of drinking and driving, so can't say as much for him. And ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank those listening live on YouTube, live, Twitch, and Reddit. Guys, check out the podcast at We Got Balls Podcast. Also, if you're listening to the podcast, check it out live. We're on Facebook and Twitch live every week, usually on Sunday at 5 p.m. So check that out. I want to thank our guest, Gracie Trudeau. We've had a great time with you, Gracie. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And this was a very fun episode. I had a great time. So please remember, rate, subscribe, review. We do this thing once a week. We'll be back next Sunday at 5:30 p.m. We will talk to you then. We love it. Peace out.